Hey, I'm John Greaves III. I'm the founder of Garage Gym Life, and I'm so excited to be talking to you guys because it is almost Christmas time, and we've got to talk about gift giving. And so I am reaching out to my guy, Colin Jenkins of Connect the Watts. He has an awesome YouTube channel, and he has been talking about fitness tech for quite some time now. So he is the perfect guy to just dive. I'm going to just pick his brain till it's bare. All right, Colin, thank you for joining me.
Okay, John. Thanks for having me, John. It's great to be here.
My man, I'm telling you, man, I knew I wanted to do something about fitness tech, fitness wearables, like watches and things like that. And I also knew that I don't know enough about that. If anybody saw my review that I just did, I did an unboxing of a bone conduction headset from Clatry, and if anybody watched that, you now know that I am not the fitness tech guy. Okay, I said you gotta know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So Colin is gonna be the guy I'm asking all the questions because I'm not that guy. Let's just get some quick background on you. How long have you been reviewing fitness tech?
Reviewing fitness tech fairly recently, about 2 years now. Prior to that, I was fitness gym owner, studio owner, just coaching people. And then, when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, got to do some things at home too, to kind of and then ended up just doing a lot of reviews for stuff I could find. And that's how I started.
So just so people get an idea of how much stuff you've had your hands on. Number one, you were a gym owner.
Yeah.
And so you were familiar with some fitness tech things, bikes, rowers, things like that, just from that. But then, for example, when you were doing your review comparison of the new Peloton row and the Hydro, and I believe in the Concept 2, and then you tested another one too. You tested a couple of others.
Yeah, there's a couple others. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're testing all these, and you mentioned like this ridiculous amount of rowing time that you put in to test these devices. So how much time did you spend on just doing a rower comparison?
So I rode about 1 million meters over a year, which isn't,
I like how he just casually said, "Oh yeah, it's 1 million meters a year." What?
It's not a crazy. Well, it depends on like what you feel about rowing. So if you're somebody who's like a CrossFitter who rows 500 meters at a time,
okay.
1 million sounds like a lot. If you most people don't like to row for 40 minutes at a time, but if you do, it can stack up pretty quickly. So it just depends on how you row. 1 million meters per year is like, it just means like you row a decent amount. It's not actually that crazy, but it's a lot for people who don't row a lot, I think.
It sounds like you're training to lead your Viking warship to invade England. That's what it sounds like you're doing. All right, 1 million meters. But yeah, so you get a lot of stuff that comes through your hands. You test it out. How long do you typically spend checking out something before you release a review of it?
It varies a lot depending on, so for example, if it's like a Peloton row, right? And I'm very familiar with Peloton itself. So I know how everything's structured. I've taken hundreds of classes on Peloton. So when I'm taking a Peloton rowing class, there's less for me to learn and understand than if I was taking a Peloton for the first time. Okay. So if I'm taking equipment for the first time and really try to learn it, it usually takes close to a month. Okay. If it's something I know really well, it can take a few days to a few weeks. So it just depends kind of, or how much time I want to put into it in those 2 weeks. Because when I first started out, if I got a rower, I would test that rower nonstop for like weeks at a time. But then I found out my training was just going horribly.
Your own personal training is getting destroyed. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I feel your pain.
So now I just do it slower over a longer period of time.
Okay. Yeah. So let's jump right into this then. We talked about kind of dividing things up into tiers, right? So let's say you're buying, and let's say you're looking for a gift for somebody who is, maybe they want to start their home gym. They're not really sure. And it seems for somebody like that, especially if they don't have a very deep fitness background, that something like the Mirror or Lululemon Studio, which is a newer version of the Mirror, would be good. I'd say would be good options. What do you think of those things if you're trying to recommend something to somebody or buy something for somebody in that situation?
Yeah, I think for somebody who doesn't have really any background, maybe in weightlifting or working out, and is just trying to get started with something simple that they can follow along to, I think the mirror is actually a really good option, because they, with their new Lululemon Studios, what they're calling it now, they dropped the price, I think, in half. So it's like $700 something dollars. And they've also integrated it with other like gyms that you can go to in person, so you can get discounts on that. So for somebody who's just trying to learn what they like or how to do it, I think, yeah, something like the mirror, it's still it's a big gift. It's still $700, but compared to other similar fitness type of tech, that's on the lower end of things that you could definitely get. So it seems like a pretty good deal.
And to put it in perspective, you could drop 700 on a barbell, okay, and have this bar and still not know what you're doing. All right, so that is one thing that people can keep in mind when you're watching this, and we're starting to put out some numbers there. Understand that someone who's into fitness isn't necessarily going to be like, oh, wow, that's too much money, because like I said, you can get a good bar for several $700. But to go back to the Lululemon Studio, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have like some sort of deal for like, if you were already a Lululemon member, then you kind of get like some sort of discount with this, or am I off base here?
No, so that's the kind of nice thing about it, is that they are integrating it with like real life experiences and real life discounts. So I believe as a member, you get discounts at their stores for all their Lululemon stuff, if you're into that type of stuff. Or like I said, they've partnered with, I think, 7 or 8 gyms. And so those gyms provide classes to the mirror. And if you also want to go to those gyms, they give you a discount to try out classes if you have a Lululemon like mirror membership. So it's a smart integration.
I like that. How do you feel about that versus what people may be more familiar with in terms of this? This is like a step up from what Beachbody first was doing with like P90X, where they send you buy your DVDs and they come out to you. And now they actually have, I believe, some integrated classes or like some online classes you can take as well. And there's a couple of other things out there that are kind of in that Beachbody family of things. How do you feel about those versus something like Lululemon Studio? Or I feel silly always saying Lululemon Studio, also known as Mirror, but it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
But how do you feel about the biggest thing for me is like, it seems like the integration is like a difference. How do you feel about it?
I think it's something meant for somebody who wants something that's just dedicated for fitness, but doesn't really take up space or look like it's dedicated for fitness. So because you could, if you hook up to your TV to like Beachbody, right? The workouts on Beachbody are actually a higher quality in general. They have some pretty decent programs on there, and overall it's going to be cheaper since you're just paying for a membership and not paying for an actual unit to use.
But you still got to then buy the dumbbells. You still got to buy all the equipment you're going to work out with.
Not for yeah. If you want to advance past like body weight stuff, you got to start accumulating, building out whatever you need for your home gym. But you would have to do that with the mirror too, if you wanted to do stuff beyond body weight as well.
Okay.
But I think something like the mirror allows people who have trouble with motivation, which is a lot of people who aren't into fitness, because that's usually why they aren't into fitness, is they just have trouble starting or continuing a program. And to have something that's just right there, it's just ready to go. There's a dedicated space to it. People feel comfortable in like using it. Even though it's much more expensive than an alternative version, it might end up being used a lot more. So that's where the value on something like that can come in for someone, I think.
And is it because you're building community with like okay, so if somebody's watching this and is not really sure what we mean, from what I understand, again, I'm leaning on you, is that the mirror is a situation where you're basically doing like almost like a Zoom. You're doing a Zoom fitness class. So they see you and you see them. You may not see all of them. I guess you see like the trainer or something like that, but they can see you. Is that right?
I actually don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think it's you just seen in the instructor. You can pay. So that is one thing about the mirror, and some other things and other ones like Form that is kind of interesting and nice for somebody starting out, is they have a mirror, they have a camera facing you optionally to pay for personal training.
That's what
so
I mean.
You can pay
Yeah,
like $50 or $60 to get a personal session, which could be nice for somebody who doesn't know how to like
You need
squat or do
feedback
any
and
kind of
whatever. Yeah.
movement
Yeah.
to get some personalized feedback through that mirror. And that is a nice kind of feature of some of those machines.
Right. Okay. Okay. Just make sure you don't put it in your bedroom and forget to turn it off. That'd be awkward.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk. So that was in terms of like the mirror, and there's tonal also. There was another one that you reviewed that didn't necessarily have a class with it, and you were not as impressed with it because there were some safety issues. For example, I remember I saw you where you were dropping the bar and the barbell just went right down. You say kind of maybe dangerous for kids. So you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So there's those tonals, like the most popular like one that provides a pretty decent amount of resistance training options, up to 200 pounds, I believe, which feels heavier than 200 pounds if you're using it. This other one's called Speediance. The benefit of the Speediance one was that it doesn't need a wall, so it's freestanding, which, you know, for a lot of people, can't install it on the walls.
Right, like in an apartment or something.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. So it's like 2,500, which is still expensive, but compared to Tonal is like 4,000.
Right.
And Tonal requires a $50 per month membership, whereas this one, it's free for like the next year, but then it'll be like half of that.
Right.
The problem that I had with it, which will be a problem for some people and not others, is the safety, right? Yeah. And mostly with the barbell training, because there's no space between your toes. Like in the, you know, if you have 200 pounds on there, you let go of it, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And the
200 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but dropping that on your foot is a lot. Or dropping it on your kid as they walk by, because when you showed me that, when you showed it in the video, the thing falling and maybe hitting a kid, I was like, oh yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah, so that is a concern, but you can, if you want to mitigate those issues, you can. The only issue I have with Tonal, and this is something I'm working on talking about, is I'm a bit concerned about that company. The company's they're currently going through lawsuits with their only manufacturer for not paying any of their bills. They shut down some of their store over the past week, and they've let go all of their coaches a few months ago and had to hire new coaches in a new location. So I am a bit concerned because with Tonal, they brick a lot of their features. They turn off a lot of their features if you don't have that membership. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned about people getting too excited about Tonal right now.
So we need to pump our brakes on Tonal.
See like what's going to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually the same concern that I had when we talk later about Peloton Row, because the company has gone from people being convinced it was going to go bankrupt, declare bankruptcy, to all of a sudden it's releasing new products. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? You know, aren't you still in trouble or whatever? But yeah, we can talk about that later on. Let's talk about some stuff that may not be as expensive. Let's go the other direction. And this is for, let's say you've got you know, your cousin Greg or something, and he works on his home gym all the time, and you don't know what to get him. So that's where we go in like a category of stuff that is stuff to help Greg perform better. So cousin Greg might like a vibrating roller, which I didn't even know existed until I saw your video on it. And so you have vibrating rollers. Some of them are heated, you know, if you want to treat yourself. Then and we'll talk about that. Then you got compression massagers, massage guns that people know about as well. So let's start with the vibrating rollers. Are these a good purchase?
I think they are a great gift. I don't know if they're like, if you were to just buy a foam roller for yourself and you want something just simple, easy to use, you could just buy a regular one. And regular foam rollers are great. You can get pretty much almost as much out of them, right? The vibrating foam rollers, they're not gimmicky. Like, they actually do work better and they're more comfortable to use. But they're really expensive. So that's compared to a regular foam roller. But if you gave somebody a regular foam roller a gift, I don't know if it would be like the best gift. Whereas a nice little vibrating foam roller could I would perceive that like, oh, that's a cool little gift to give somebody. And so,
well, is it the sort of thing that if you lay down on it, you're like, oh yeah, okay? Is that immediately you're like, oh yeah?
I don't know if it's ever that way with the foam roller, at least not for me.
I mean, on your
But the
back, man. I'm
vibration,
just thinking like you put it on your back, you're like, like those
a
people
little
when
bit.
I see those Chirp
Yeah.
commercials and they act like they need a moment alone. I'm like, really? Is this a Chirp, man? I've got one Chirp. It doesn't do that for me. But with these
I don't
rollers,
know, but I find foam rolling's painful usually to me.
yeah.
But the vibration does help like bypass some of that pain signaling, so
Okay.
it does feel a little bit more comfortable to use.
Okay. Okay.
And
And
if
what about
somebody
the
wants to
heat?
give somebody I think I haven't tested that one with heat that actually works well with heat.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know if I would worry too much about that
Okay.
yet,
Okay.
but I do know that like, so like if you wanted to give somebody a vibrating foam roller, there's one by Theragun or Therabody
Okay.
called the something Wave,
Okay.
which is I think it's under $100 on sale now, and
Oh,
that
nice.
one's
Okay.
softer than normal. It's cushy almost. So if you're not used to foam rolling, that one's a really good one to start with.
Okay.
Alternatively, Hyper Ice has one, the Venom, or it's something,
The Venom?
their version of it. No, it's
Yeah.
something else. Viper, I think. Yeah, Viper.
Viper. Okay. Viper.
And
Okay.
that one's on sale. It's a little bit more expensive than the Therabody one. Maybe it's like $150,
Okay.
but it's a little bit harder. So it's, if somebody's maybe more, it has more experience with foam rolling, that might be a better one.
Let's talk about compression massagers. I did a review of the Bob and Brad compression massager, and I actually like the thing, man. I put it on, and the way I knew it worked, I put it on after a leg workout, and I fell asleep. And I was like, oh, well, okay, that's a win. So then I let my wife try it. She does a lot of cycling and things like that, and she tried it, and she fell asleep. I was like, okay, so maybe we're onto something here, right? But what I don't know is there that's one of the, and you get anybody who wants to watch that review, you can just go up there, click that link right there. That just popped up above my head. But what I don't know is, are these things kind of like you know, the more money you pay, the better the more bang for your buck you're going to get, or is there some sort of like a threshold, like you don't need to spend any more than this on something like that? Like, what's your experience been with them? Because I know you've done a couple reviews as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know if either of us are going to be able to answer that too well, because I think like you've tested the one that's a little bit more budget friendly, and I've tested the one that's a little bit like the Hyper Ice one that's more expensive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if either of us have tested both of them to compare. So I don't know what the differences are. It may be that I like it a lot. I think they're great tools, and I think but I don't know if having the more expensive one's any better than having the one that's you know, I don't, besides the brand name. So I don't know. What I will say though, that is that there is a product by Hyper Ice Normatec. It's called the Normatec Go, and it's a cheaper version. It's like $300 something of it, and it's smaller. It just covers your calves, and it's not hooked up to anything. You just strap it on, and I would say I use that like 10 times more than any of the other full leg compression systems, because I can walk around with it. I can put it on while I work. My legs don't have to be like locked out straight. And so it's just super convenient and easy to use. And even though it's not as beneficial, it's still really, it feels really nice to use. And so, you know, I think that's a better gift too. It's much more, I think within the budget that makes sense for, you know, a really nice gift.
So that actually is huge, because the Bob and Brad massager that I used, I liked it, but I had a budget that time. I mean, it's only 15 minutes, but still, it's like, okay, I have to set it up so that I'm not going anywhere and that my feet are elevated, because it just didn't feel like it worked as well if I was even sitting here at my desk and I had it on. I felt like I needed to be as close to reclined as possible, which is great if I'm just sitting out like watching the game or letting the game watch me, you know, that's fine. And it wasn't very, you said you could walk around. I could not do that. I could definitely not do that. And then as far as cleaning it, you know, you can't use anything wet to clean it. And so I have concerns about going forward, you know, because it's an enclosed structure. So you put your foot into it like almost like a boot.
It doesn't zip up.
No, so you put it on and it's Velcro wraps around, right? But you're putting your foot into it like it's a shoe, and then you wrap it around, right? And so I'm like, well, how do I clean that? You know, over time, it's gonna smell like feet, you know, and then whatever, right? Doesn't
Yeah,
matter if you
yeah.
just took a shower. And so I have some concerns about that. But for what you're paying for, it's really, like I said, I put it on, every time I put it on, I fall asleep. And there's a gap in my
Yeah.
memory, and I don't feel like I missed a thing. So I'm okay with that. But
Yeah.
that's just a consideration. When you said that with the one that you tested, you're able to walk around with it. That's good, because now I'm not trapped. You know, so that's a that's a good plus, what's it called, perk right there, or plus.
Oh yeah. And just the fact you can use it while sitting without being reclined, and you could work, like I could be using it right now and it's not super loud, so you wouldn't even know if I was wearing it right now or not.
Nice.
And you can walk around with it. So no, it's definitely, again, it's not as good, but it's better in the fact that you actually can use it more often.
I remember when the first massage guns came out, and they were essentially, somebody took like a reciprocating saw, took the blade out, and attached this gadget to it. And now they have really advanced. They're a lot quieter. They, I would say, a lot more portable, because I see them getting smaller and smaller. But whenever I recommend a massage gun to somebody, they're always like, "Oh, well, you just get one from Walmart. It's, you know, it's really, you know, it doesn't cost that much." Yes, you can make an argument for spending a little bit more money on a massage gun.
Yeah, no, it's there's so many massage guns out there, and they range from, like, you can get super cheap ones, you can get, there's some that are like $600, like ridiculously expensive ones. And it's not that all the cheap ones are bad, because there are some I'm sure you can find, but you really have to kind of look at the details about what is provided with that gun.
Yeah.
Because some of these guns, I wish I had some here. Like, the biggest thing I think when you're looking at a massage gun is the distance that they go side to side, right?
Okay.
So that distance, a lot of the cheaper ones, it'll be like 8 millimeters. And what that means is when you're using it, it'll feel like almost just like something like like your cell phone buzzing in your pocket. Like, it won't,
Right.
it's very small, so it
It's
feels
not
more like
pinpoint.
a
I got you.
vibration-y.
Yeah.
Whereas like more expensive ones might be double that, like 16 millimeters, and it'll feel much more punchy, like you're actually getting like a good solid massage.
Right.
And so, you know, the 16, and that's where, so something more expensive, like some of the Theragun ones, but you know, they even have ones that are, I think, like $200 that can provide that really good level of deep tissue. I think under $200 you are going to see less, but depending on the person, it may not be that big a deal. So I just feel like it definitely is, you do have to consider how much it costs, but and also the person that will be using it. Like, if they're super sensitive, maybe they don't need such a hard one too. So
so I'll go ahead this way. So let's say if I'm giving it as a gift, me personally, I'm giving it as a gift to someone who lifts a lot and a lot of heavy weight. I'm going to spend more money on it, because they're likely to have, unless they get a lot of body work done frequently, they're likely to have a lot of knots. And it's going to take tremendous percussion. You'd be surprised how much percussion it takes to get any changes in their tissue. So what would be painful for a regular person, they may not even feel. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, they may not even feel it. They're like, "Oh, yeah, whatever, I don't even feel that." So that would be one reason why you might want to spend a little bit more money. I don't know if you need to go to $600, but you definitely want to. I wouldn't spend under $200 if I'm giving it as a gift to somebody who, like, say, competes in powerlifting or something like that, or definitely somebody who competes in strongman, because their back, the spinal erectors of their back, if you compete in strongman, those are just a collection of knots above a belt. Okay, so you need that's, I think it would be worth it to spend the money. Let's talk about smartwatches. That's going to go the other spectrum, I think, because those tend to be used by more people who are, I would say, your casual fitness user, as well as maybe people who are a little bit more, you know, like they're out there, they're tracking, they're serious runners and things like that. You are not a fan. Let's go with the negative first. You're not a fan of the Google Pixel Watch. I know you did an entire video about it, but
yeah, I'm still
just
playing
give me some
around
quick
with this
highlights.
thing. It's okay, so Google bought Fitbit, which is a very popular fitness watch and device, and it's actually usually a great present to get because it's so simple and easy to learn. My mom wears it. Like anybody can pick it up who's not even comfortable with tech, and be able to see their heart rate and their steps and all that type of stuff. But Google came out with a new watch because they want to have like an official Google watch that works with their phones and everything. And the watch is, again, if you're just a very casual user, it's a great gift. But if you're from a fitness perspective, if it's somebody who's into fitness to even the slightest degree, it's not well designed because it's got this super round like shape to it, which means the glass is unprotected around here, so it's really easy to get banged up. It's not very accurate when it comes to like it's somewhat accurate in some, but it's not the best in terms of heart rate accuracy or GPS. There's just a lot of issues with it, and the battery dies like super quick, so it's not my favorite. But as a gift, like that whole Fitbit family of watches, including the Pixel watch, if it's somebody who doesn't usually use tech and doesn't really, just kind of wants, maybe they'll do a workout once in a while, but it's mostly for steps and maybe sleep tracking, then I think some of them are on sale pretty deep too for like under $100, some of the Fitbit stuff, and those can be really good gifts, I think.
Okay, so let's put some flesh and bones on this skeleton here. So let's say it's like you've got your dad, the doctor tells him, hey, you need to walk more, right? And you say, hey, I got an idea. And dad says, I walk all the time when I'm working in my garden or whatever, right? You're like, okay. And so he might be somebody you give the watch to, say, well, dad, just wear this watch and it's going to keep track of your steps. And as long as, because, dad's like goals and guys are competitive. So like, hey, you just got to do that. I think that's why the Apple Watch was so successful, because people start closing rings. They want to just close rings, right? And they have competitions between themselves and other people, like who can close the most rings, whatever. So if somebody like that, the Google Pixel Watch might be a good fit. Anybody else, you would say give them a different member of the Fitbit family, because you don't want to give them something that they feel they need to take off to work out.
Yeah, like I wouldn't work out with this thing with weights or any chance of it getting banged up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if it's anybody else, like, and even the regular Fitbit watches do just a good job. It just is not as integrated with like Android phones. So if they have an Android phone that they want to make calls with, then it's good. Otherwise, the other watches are a little bit more simple and easier to use as a simple device. But if they have iPhones, they should probably just get some version of an Apple Watch in most cases.
Well, what if they're a runner and they're into smart watches?
Yeah, so with running, I think there's a lot of other options to go with, because the main focus for someone who's running is you want something that's more accurate, that can help them with, some of their running specifics, stuff that they want to see. And so then you can get into some of the watches like Coros or Garmin that are more running specific and get a really good gift, because some of those watches, like, they have really expensive ones. Like there's Garmin GPS watches that cost over $1,000, but there are some like the Coros Pace 2, for example, which is like $150 when it's on sale, which is a really, really solid, excellent running watch. That could be a great gift for somebody. So yeah, if they're into running, they would definitely, and they don't have like a running specific watch, they would find a lot of value, I think, out of having that. Even if they already have like a regular watch, if they just had an extra one to use for their running specific stuff, it could be a really cool gift to give somebody for sure.
Rowers are probably one of the biggest things that you can just get somebody. And what I like about some of the rowers that are coming out now is if someone has an apartment, they've got limited space and they want to, or maybe they just don't want to, they normally do cardio outside and they're going to do cardio inside because it's wintertime. A lot of these rowers look really good. They're very aesthetically pleasing. And I mentioned that you did a very comprehensive review. Spent a lot of an extremely, I don't care what you say, that's a lot of time on the rower.
Okay.
But I'm saluting you, all right? But out of all of those, I was interested to find that you still rank the Concept 2 fairly high compared to some of the newer options. Could you briefly go into, and we're going to link, I'm going to put the link to that video in the description here, as with all your other videos that we've been mentioning. But just briefly kind of tease people and let them know some of the reasons why you picked the Concept 2 so high, and let's say which one was your overall winner though.
Gotcha. So, Concept 2, and people actually give me like shit about that review too, because I didn't put Concept 2 as the highest, because for many people, Concept 2 is the gold standard of rowers. It's the rowers used by the most amount of people and athletes in gyms and garage gyms all over. It's really easy to move. It's pretty much unbreakable. Like, I've left mine outside for months at a time. Like, it's still, with some cleaning, it works fine. Like, you can't mess these things up too badly. So they are great pieces of equipment.
And you can get them used.
Also,
I got mine used. That's one reason why we picked that one. Okay.
You can get them used. You can, and they're still be in good condition. Even if they're like 10 years old, they probably can be fixed up to be pretty decent. So there's a lot of really good reasons to use Concept 2. It's also open source, so you can connect it to a variety of apps or whatever you want to use it with, versus being stuck in a closed platform like some of the other rowers. So in terms of like a rower, it's excellent. The only things against Concept 2 is that if you have it not in your garage, like you have it in your house, it doesn't look that great. It's not like, it looks like a piece of fitness equipment. It doesn't look necessarily like a furniture like some of these nicer models do for like inside your living room, or depending on where you have it. That's one thing. And the second thing is it's extremely loud compared to any other rower. So if you're going to be rowing early in the morning or late at night in your house, like, I couldn't do that because we would wake up my kid with the Concept 2. So there's other factors to consider. And that's where you look at the other rowers. The other rowers, though, are much more expensive. And I'm actually surprised that Concept 2 has stayed. I mean, they're the same price they've been for like 8 years now, I feel like. I don't think they've increased in price at all, which is amazing. So it's a great value deal too. But the other, I mean,
maybe it's just a case of they know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, they know who they are. They know who their demographic is. And I mean, they're the ones that are probably going to be pushed most often by like CrossFit. They have those, they have competitions related to Concept 2. So, you want to keep it as, I guess, uniform as possible for those purposes.
And for the other rowers at this point, if you want to do mixed modality training, so if you like CrossFit type workouts, then you kind of have to stick with the Concept 2, because all of the other rowers, they're not designed well for getting on and off with like interval systems or anything like that. So
even the Peloton row, because I thought Peloton row had a thing because they integrated with the other Peloton classes. So I thought that you would be able to, that you'd be able to get off and do whatever thing the instructor just told you to do and then get back on.
They have their own boot camp classes, certainly could take. So you get on and off with weights or body weight type of stuff. But I'm just talking about like, if you're doing like your own workouts, if you're going to do your own workout where you're getting on and off the rower, the other rowers are going to turn off after like 30 seconds and you're going to have to like after a minute, you have to reboot them. And it's like, they're just not really well designed for that type of purpose. So if you're a CrossFitter or something like that, you still have to go pretty much with the Concept 2. The other rowers are more designed if you like to row for longer extended periods of time and you just actually want to just row for that workout.
Gotcha. So out of those, which one would be the one, you're trying to impress your father-in-law, you've only been married to his daughter for a year and you want to impress him. Which one's the one that you're going to say, hey, this is the one I'm bringing daddy?
Probably go with the Hydro.
The water
either the Hydro Wave or the regular Hydro is the bigger one. And just because the classes there are very like, it's on the water, it's outside, it feels, it doesn't feel as enclosed as, whereas Peloton is more like studio, good music, like music entertainment type of thing. And there's somebody who's gonna like each of those better, and I feel like dad's probably gonna like Hydro more.
He's I don't think they have Dean Martin available for Peloton. Whatever. Okay. I will say that one of the things that I liked, and I'm not sure if the Hydro is like this, but I think the Peloton, I'm sorry, not the Hydro, yeah, the water rower. Yeah, the Hydro may not, but I think the Peloton stores upright, but with a wall mounted bracket. So you don't have to worry about it falling over. The Concept 2, you can stand up as well. And you mentioned that in your video too. In fact, that's how I store mine. But it's very easy to knock it over. And I actually never knew until I watched your video that you could break a Concept 2 into 2 pieces, like quickly and easily. I had no idea. So I'm telling you, I was like, I literally watched your video. I was like, huh. So I didn't have enough time to do it today, but I was like, look, I said, I want to go downstairs and try that. So you can easily just break it into 2. I don't mean like actually break, but I mean like it separates into 2 pieces, so you can store it very easily. That's good if you want to, like, is this small enough then to put in a closet or something? Like you kind of just hide away.
It's only like 2 or 3 feet tall each piece. And
okay, yeah, so that's huge.
Oh yeah, easily can fit in the closet.
So if you can get a used Concept 2, now you just save some money, and they can break it up, put it in the closet or something like that, and that makes a really good tech gift. And there are a ton of apps. I mean, there are apps where you can you're racing. It's like you're playing video games, and I believe it's like that on all these rowers, on a lot of the rowers anyway, where you're playing video games, doing different things on them. You said that there was one where you could watch Netflix, I believe, while you're rowing. Okay.
Yeah, so, Averon. There's Averon and Hydro are more game-based rowers, and or entertainment-based rowers, and you can watch shows and stuff while you row on Averon.
So let's wrap this up with a couple of gifts that people may not have considered. The first one is distance coaching. Okay, so a lot of people are familiar with that, but just in case you're not, distance coaching is basically you get a coach who you don't go see. Instead, they send you workouts. You do the workout, you send them a video, get their feedback, they make adjustments, send you the next workout. So you have a personal trainer, but you don't have to physically go and see them. All right. And there are several workout apps that let you work with someone in that capacity. One of the very popular ones is True Coach. One that I was not familiar with, again, until I watched your video on it, is the Future Fitness app. And what I liked about that is with True Coach and most of the other ones I knew about, you have to know the coach ahead of time. You have to know, hey, I'm working with this coach, and he or she then says, okay, yeah, we're gonna provide you your content that you paid for through True Coach. With Future Fitness, you can come completely blank slate, and they will help you find a coach, right? Am I correct about that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple of really impressive things about the Future Fit, because not even just outside of the coach. So if you sign up, they ask you a lot of questions about your goals, what type of person you would like to work with, so they can find somebody who would help you the most. And then they assign you a coach, which you can always change at any time. Like if they're not, for some reason, not working with you, or they're not helping you out as much as you would like, you can always switch. So it's not a big deal. But
these aren't just like regular random people from like down the street,
they're like
there's
they're
some
very
people
good
there.
coaches. Like so my guy was he was a coach for he was still coaching as an assistant coach in the MLB for which team, but
was it the
regardless,
Braves?
he knows what he was talking about. Yeah, maybe the Braves. He knows what he's talking about. And when I talked to him about what I want to do, because like for me, sometimes it's a little bit harder to talk to like coaches who don't have experience. Like he was very sharp and very like
he's a judo competitor, right? Like international level judo competitor.
Yeah. And so
so he's an athlete, is what I mean. He's an athlete, and he's used to working with athletes. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's another guy on there who trained at Juggernaut Training Systems. So there are a lot of very high level people in there. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're solid coaches, but and even more impressive, because I've used True Coaching for a long time. I wish they opened up that Future app for everybody, because it's the best fitness app I've ever used. There's a couple of reasons. So when they give you the workout and you're following along to it, one, you can control it with your phone, or your watch. You can control it wherever, and
Right.
you'll see the demo of the movement, and it'll like count your reps for you if you want to with the watch, and you can record your weight with your watch or on the app as you go, and it'll give you
Okay.
recommendations based on your history.
Okay.
But not only that, the coach is talking to you throughout each time because they record specific cues just for you based on their
Okay.
results. And they'll ask you like, hey, on your second set, record this and send it to me. And all you have to do during that second set is push record, and it'll record that video and send it to them.
Nice.
And they usually get back to you within like an hour of like, hey, that with cues and stuff to work on. So it's just a really well integrated app for somebody who wants some guidance and some help or some accountability to stick to a program.
All right, so that would be something that you could give as a gift for somebody who's just starting out, doesn't know who they want to use. But also, I'm curious about this, because what I tend to use coaching for is to make sure I do stuff that I normally would skip, okay? Or stuff that I need a little bit more help with. So, for example, I have a mobility coach right now. Even though I don't mind stretching, being able to program the specific mobility movements I need at this point in order to get me to the goals I want was a little bit beyond my expertise and my time, available time. So I got a mobility coach. Does Future Fitness have people who can coach you in multiple different things, or is it just workouts?
So it's primary. I would say it's primarily workouts. They will help you out with nutrition. They will help you out with mobility, but I wouldn't say that that's like their primary like expertise. Although I could be wrong if you ask for a coach that like that's their main focus.
Right.
So, but for me, that wasn't the main focus. So I didn't get the sense that that was like the main coaching of that.
And the cost of that, from what I could see, was about $150, which may sound again like a lot, but it's really not. It really is not. Because telling them what you get for the $150.
No, it's actually my biggest concern is that how much those coaches get paid, because I'm like, these are good coaches. So you get like, you can it's not text, but through the app, you can ask them questions anytime. They help you with your form. You send them videos. They program your workouts. If you're going somewhere you need to adjust, they'll adjust your workouts for you, all that stuff. So it's super personalized, really well designed, with a coach who's going to help keep you accountable. So I think $150, like just to give you an example of why I think that's a good deal, even though it is expensive, is, if you would pay for personal training, that would give you like 1 to 2 sessions, usually maybe 3 sessions, depend if the person's newer, and you're going to get way more out of something like this over a month than you would in 2 sessions in terms of critiques and stuff. But also you're going to like, for the same service that they give, there's a lot of if you go to Instagram and find Instagram coaches and you find these people selling coaches, these guys are better than 99% of them. And they most of those coaches charge anywhere from $300 to $500 a month.
Right.
So this being $150, I think, is a really good deal.
Now, that's not to say that you can't find people charging you $25, but you get what you pay for. That's all I'm going to say about that. The last gift that I think that people may not be thinking about, it's kind of a region specific thing, but I had the pleasure of interviewing the guy who came up with this concept, and it's a barbell warmer. So for those of us who live in warm environments, you're like, what do you need a barbell warmer for? So I'll just tell you, if you live somewhere, like my son lives in Chicago, that is stupid cold, okay? And in that environment, it's so cold, or somewhere like Wyoming, the guy who invented it is in Wyoming, maybe Washington State, places like that. The bar is so cold that you can't touch it with your bare hand. You risk injury if you touch it with your bare hand, all right? And that's even if it's in the garage. So what a lot of people do in those situations is take that bar inside the house and warm it up in like the kitchen or something, and then take it back outside to use it. Or they have gloves on until the bar warms up. And neither of those are ideal. And when I went on their website, I actually saw several reviews from people who have something called Raynaud's disease, which I wasn't familiar with before, where you lose circulation in your extremities and it makes you have severe sensitivity to touching cold things. And so these people weren't able to lift with a barbell in the winter. And so the barbell warmer, basically you literally just put it on the bar, wrap it on there and zip it up and turn it on. It heats it up, and then you take it up, and it's got a timer so that it'll shut off automatically. Like, let's say basically what they said to do is turn it on before you go to work, and then when you come home, it'll be warm. But let's say, you end up working overtime or whatever, it's got an automatic shut off because it's got settings. So it's moisture resistant. So, I mean, I wouldn't like throw it in the pool, but from the conversation I had with the guy, and you guys can check out the conversation, just click the link that's just up there. But if you know somebody who works out in a home gym and they live anywhere where it's ridiculously cold, the kinds of places where you can't park your car outside without something special on the car to make sure that the car will still start, places like that where they have they get snowed in habitually for 2-3 weeks at a time. Okay, those people are great options for getting a barbell warmer. They will love you for it. So I don't get any money out of telling you that. I'm just telling you that when I heard about the product, I said, if I move to a cold climate, that's coming with me in my suitcase. I'm buying it before we go because I'd rather have it already. I don't want them to run out. It's cold now and I try to order it. So that's it. What gift would you say that people don't think about in terms of fitness tech? It could be a wearable, it could be anything when they're thinking about like, hey, I want to give a gift to somebody who's into fitness, but who's also a tech head.
I think probably the best way to go about it, to think about it, is to try to figure out what they like to do for fitness, and then figure out, especially if you don't have a huge budget for like a big thing, figure out like some sort of accessory like that barbell warmer, something that they could get to make their training better or make what they already have better. So like an example was, like, let's say they run and they already have a watch and whatever. Well, they sell pods like this, let me show you, like this little stride pod you can put on your shoes, and it'll help you run and be able to track all your measurements that'll attach to your watch. So and that's like $100. So or if they have a Peloton, you can get them accessories for that Peloton, right? Or pay for their membership for a while. So I think there's lots of opportunities to buy things around what they're already doing if they're doing something.
Well, my man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I want people to check you out, and I want your channel to grow because I want you to stick around in case I have other questions. I can just go to your channel and learn more and sound smart to everybody else. So please tell everybody how they can keep up with you. Give them your social media, your Instagram, your YouTube, and also if you want to plug something that you've got coming up, go ahead.
Okay. No, you can just find us at Connect the Watts. So Connect the Watts on YouTube, connectthewatts.com is the website, because we also write a lot about stuff that I don't necessarily make videos for. And so that's just the easiest way to find me. And I'm trying to think if there's anything coming up that would be interesting, but I'm testing out Aura Ring. If you're interested in like Aura, Whoop, recovery type devices, that should be coming up soon, and some sauna stuff. Have you ever used a sauna or cold tub? We got some stuff on there. So just kind of fun stuff, but you can check it out for sure.